There comes a time in life when silence becomes louder than words, and absence speaks volumes no voice could ever express. Disappearing isn't about running away or hiding. It's about reclaiming your power, about stepping back to rediscover yourself. It's about making a statement without uttering a word. When you simply disappear, you force people to face truths they would rather ignore. They feel it deeply, and each feeling tells its own story. This is what happens when you choose to step away, when you stop explaining, stop justifying, and start protecting your peace. It's not a declaration of war, it's a quiet revolution. Let's explore the 9 things they feel when you simply disappear. Number 1, fearful loss. Number 2, repressed memories. And number 3, no peace. After the initial wave of confusion, guilt begins to set in, and a heavy, lingering emotion that wraps itself around their thoughts. They start to question themselves, probing into the past to uncover their role in your decision to disappear. Guilt is a relentless voice in their mind, whispering accusations they can't ignore. Did they take you for granted? Were their words too harsh, their actions too careless? Did they fail to listen when you needed to be heard? This guilt isn't just a passing feeling, it's an emotional reckoning. They replay moments they brushed off, the times they chose convenience over care. Every sharp word or dismissive glance becomes a vivid memory, resurfacing with an intensity they never anticipated. Guilt pulls them into a spiral of self-reflection, forcing them to see the cracks in the foundation of the relationship they once shared with you. The weight of their guilt often grows heavier as they think about the opportunities they missed to show appreciation, to be more patient, or to simply ask how you were doing. They might recall the times they ignored the signs of your weariness or overlooked the silent cries for support. Guilt doesn't need grand events to thrive. It latches onto the smallest of moments, magnifying them until they feel unbearable. They might try to rationalize their behavior at first, convincing themselves that they were justified in their actions or inactions. But guilt is a persistent companion. It follows them into quiet moments, into the stillness of their nights, when there's no distraction strong enough to drown it out. It's not just about what they did, it's about what they didn't do. The kindness they withheld, the love they failed to express, the pain they withheld from the world they identified with, and the illness they failed to express. Even if they attempt to move forward, guilt lingers like a shadow, appearing at the most unexpected times. A familiar song, a fleeting memory, or even the absence of your voice can trigger a fresh wave of regret, leaving them to wrestle with the unanswered question, what could I have done differently? When someone disappears from your life, the feeling of loss is not immediate. It creeps in slowly, like a shadow stretching across the ground as the sun sets. It's not just the absence of a person, it's the void left behind where their energy, their laughter, their presence used to exist. Loss has a way of making itself known in the quietest moments, when the noise of life dies down and all that remains is the realization that something significant is missing. They feel the loss in the routines they once shared with you, no matter how small. Perhaps it was a daily conversation, a shared joke, or the comfort of knowing you were just a call away. The absence of these moments creates a hollowness that echoes louder with time. It's not just about losing you. It's about losing the part of themselves that came alive in your presence. Loss manifests itself physically, emotionally, and mentally. They may feel it as a heaviness in their chest, an ache they can't quite name. It's in the moments they instinctively reach out to you, only to remember you're no longer there. It's in the quiet spaces of their day where your voice used to fill the silence. Loss doesn't ask for permission, it inserts itself into their life, altering the landscape of their thoughts and emotions. It's not just the big moments where your absence is felt. It's in the mundane, the ordinary. a song that used to play in the background of your conversations, a place you both visited, a phrase you often said. These seemingly insignificant details now hold an unbearable weight, serving as constant reminders of what once was. Over time, the loss starts to reveal itself in ways they never expected. It challenges their sense of stability, reminding them that nothing in life is guaranteed. It forces them to confront the fragility of connections and the impermanence of relationships. It becomes a haunting presence, lingering in the background of their lives, coloring their experiences with shades of sorrow and longing. What makes loss so profound is its ability to stir up conflicting emotions. Regret for the things left unsaid, anger at themselves for not valuing you enough, and a yearning to go back in time to relive the moments they once took for granted. The void you leave behind becomes a mirror, reflecting all the ways in which they fail to truly appreciate your presence. Loss isn't just about what they no longer have. It's about what they realize they could have had but didn't. Reflection is a phase where the silence of your absence forces them to turn inward, to face themselves in a way they might have avoided before. It's in this stillness that their mind becomes a mirror, replaying memories, moments, and choices like a reel they can't pause. Reflection is not a comfortable process. It demands honesty, and honesty is rarely gentle. It brings forth the need to scrutinize a relationship, their role in it, and most of all, the choices that may have led to your disappearance. They begin by questioning the timeline, dissecting every interaction to identify where things might have shifted. Were there signs they missed? Were there moments where they should have paid closer attention? Reflection forces them to examine not only what they did, but also what they failed to do. The unspoken words, the unacknowledged efforts, and the neglected opportunities to make you feel seen and valued. This process can feel relentless as their mind drifts back to specific conversations or events that seemed insignificant at the time, but now hold a new weight. They may think about the times they interrupted you or dismissed your feelings, the moments they chose convenience over connection. Reflection often magnifies these instances, making them impossible to ignore. And in this magnification, they begin to see themselves more clearly. It's not just a relationship they reflect on, but also their own character. Your absence challenges them to confront traits and tendencies they may have been blind to before. They might realize patterns of selfishness, neglect, or insensitivity that went unchecked. Reflection can act as a harsh teacher, revealing the areas of their personality they need to address, but were unwilling or unable to see while you were present. Reflection doesn't just stay in the past, it stretches into the present and even the future. They may wonder how your absence is changing them, reshaping their perspective and influencing their actions moving forward. They start to see the ripple effects of their choices, how one decision, one moment, or one word has the power to alter the course of a relationship. Reflection forces them to acknowledge the responsibility they hold in the way things unfolded. This process can also lead them to question their values and priorities. Were they focused on the right things? Did they place too much emphasis on trivial matters while overlooking what truly mattered? Reflection brings to light the ways in which they may have misaligned their actions with their intentions. It holds a mirror up to their soul, revealing not only what they've lost, but also the person they became in the process. In reflection, they grapple with the deeper truths about themselves and their capacity to truly connect with others. It's an uncomfortable journey, one that compels them to face the reality of their choices and their impact on the people around them. It's not just about understanding what happened, it's about coming to terms with who they are and who they need to become. Regret arrives like an uninvited guest, settling into the corners of their mind and refusing to leave. It creeps in slowly at first with small reminders of what they should have done differently. Then it grows, becoming an ever-present weight that they carry throughout their days. Regret is not just about missing what was. It's about the missing what was. It's about the missed opportunities, the unspoken words, and the actions they can never take back. They think about the times they chose silence when they should have spoken up, or the moments when their pride held them back from apologizing. Regret forces them to relive those instances, playing them over and over in their mind, but this time with the clarity that hindsight provides. They see every mistake with vivid detail, every wrong turn they made that led to your disappearance. It's a painful realization, one that cuts deeper because there is no way to rewrite the past. Regret doesn't stay confined to specific moments. It spills over into every aspect of their life. They begin to see how their actions, or lack thereof, created a domino effect, leading to the loss of something they didn't fully value until it was gone. They regret the times they didn't listen closely enough, didn't show enough kindness, didn't go the extra mile to make you feel appreciated. It's not just the big things they regret, but also the little things that now feel monumental in their absence. The hurried conversations, the distracted responses, the times they brushed off your concerns because they assumed there would always be another chance. Regret sharpens these memories, making them feel like glaring omissions that can never be corrected. Regret also brings with it a haunting sense of what if. They wonder what might have been different if they had shown more patience, more understanding, more love. What if they had been braver in expressing their feelings or quicker to acknowledge their mistakes? These what-ifs create a mental labyrinth they can't escape, trapping them in a cycle of longing for a second chance that will never come. Regret has a way of isolating them, making them feel as though they are trapped in a personal prison of their own making. It's not just about losing you. It's about losing the potential of what could have been. The plans they had, the memories they could have created, the milestones they might have shared. All of it feels like a door that has been permanently closed. This emotion doesn't just sit on the surface, it burrows deep, affecting how they see themselves. Regret forces them to confront their own shortcomings, their failure to be the person they wanted to be for you. It's a mirror that reflects their flaws in sharp detail, leaving no room for excuses or denial. Even as they try to move forward, regret lingers in the background, a constant reminder of the price of their choices. It colors their interactions with others, making them more hesitant, more cautious, because they know now how easily things can fall apart. Regret is not just a feeling, it's a shadow that follows them, a reminder of what they lost and what they can never regain. Curiosity emerges as one of the most potent emotions when you disappear from someone's life, weaving itself into every corner of their thoughts. It starts with simple questions that evolve into a relentless search for answers. They find themselves consumed by an insatiable need to know why you left, what led to your decision, and whether they played a role in it. Curiosity isn't passive. It's a driving force compelling them to revisit every interaction, every word exchanged, every moment shared, in search of clues they may have overlooked, that they wouldn't have seen until they were only a few pages away from the impersonal murder case that stopped them. They replay conversations in their mind, examining them from every angle, trying to uncover hidden meanings or subtle signals they might have missed. Did you drop hints they failed to pick up on? Were there warning signs they ignored, thinking everything was fine? Curiosity pushes them to dissect the smallest details, magnifying each one into a potential explanation. They begin to wonder if there was a single moment, a turning point they didn't recognize, where things began to change. This feeling grows stronger as they face the unknown aspects of your life after you disappeared. They want to know where you are, what you're doing, and whether you're better off without them. Social media becomes a maze they navigate with equal parts hesitation and determination, looking for glimpses of your life to piece together a narrative. I promise, my listeners, they will never leave the tower. I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise. Every post, every update, every photo feels like a puzzle piece that might offer them some clarity, yet it often leaves them with more questions than answers. Curiosity doesn't just focus on you, it also turns inward. They begin to question themselves, wondering what they could have done differently or whether they were blind to your feelings. It forces them to evaluate their actions and decisions, trying to connect the dots between who they were to you and why that wasn't enough to keep you in their life. Curiosity becomes a mirror reflecting their insecurities and uncertainties, making them scrutinize their own behavior in ways they may never have before. It also creates a sense of fascination with the idea of closure, even if it feels elusive. They imagine hypothetical conversations where you explain your reasons and they rehearse their responses, trying to make sense of a reality where those words will never come. Curiosity makes them wonder what you would say if they reached out, what they would hear if they asked the questions they're too afraid to voice. Curiosity extends beyond the immediate circumstances of your absence, seeping into the possibilities of your future without them. Are you thriving? Have you replaced them in your life with someone else who understands you better? These questions fuel their imagination, creating scenarios that range from hopeful to devastating. The unknown becomes a vast, uncharted territory that their mind can't help but explore. It's not just about finding answers, it's about the need to fill the void your disappearance has left. Curiosity pulls them into a cycle of wondering, searching, and imagining, leaving them trapped in the uncertainty of what could have been and what now is. It's a restless energy, a force that keeps their thoughts spinning, even when they desperately wish they could quiet their mind. Resentment arises as a defensive reaction, a shield against the vulnerability and pain left in your absence. It begins as a simmering frustration, an attempt to shift blame outward to avoid confronting their own role in the situation. They feel the sting of your disappearance, and rather than processing it with introspection, resentment grows as a way to externalize the hurt. Their lack of stinging grows as a way to externalize the hurt. It becomes an emotion that fuels their thoughts, casting you as a reason for their discomfort, their confusion, and their loss. They dwell on the moments where they feel you wronged them, replaying scenarios that cast them as the victim. Resentment thrives in this space, feeding on the notion that your departure was an unjust act, a betrayal of the relationship they thought they had. It distorts memories, coloring the good times with shades of bitterness and making even the smallest misunderstandings seem like deliberate slights. This feeling often leads them to question your intentions and motivations, interpreting your actions through the lens of their own pain. They convince themselves that your disappearance was calculated, an intentional decision to hurt or abandon them. Resentment sharpens these narratives, giving them a sense of righteousness that justifies their anger. They cling to this perspective as it's easier than confronting the possibility that their own behavior might have contributed to your decision. Resentment is fueled by the silence you left behind. In the absence of explanations, their mind fills the void with assumptions and accusations. They imagine scenarios where your actions were guided by selfishness, indifference, or even malice. These imagined narratives become a source of anger, perpetuating their sense of injustice. The lack of closure becomes a breeding ground for this emotion, as they feel robbed of the opportunity to defend themselves or seek resolution. It's not just about anger toward you, it's also about their own unmet expectations. Resentment often stems from a sense of entitlement, the belief that you owed them something more. whether it was loyalty, understanding, or simply an explanation. They feel betrayed by your decision to leave, as it shatters the image they had of your relationship and forces them to confront the reality of its imperfections. This emotion can also manifest as a competitive desire to prove you wrong. Resentment drives them to focus on their own accomplishments, not out of genuine ambition, but as a way to show you what you're missing. They want to reclaim a sense of power, to feel that they've won in the aftermath of your absence. Yet even as they try to channel resentment into action, it continues to weigh on them, reminding them of the unresolved pain that lies beneath their anger. Resentment creates a divide between how they see themselves and how they see you. They elevate their own perspective while diminishing yours, using this imbalance to justify their feelings. It's a defense mechanism, a way to shield themselves from the vulnerability of admitting that your absence affects them deeply. But the more they dwell on these thoughts, the more resentment takes root, making it harder for them to find peace or let go of the emotional burden. Even as they try to move forward, resentment lingers, tainting their interactions and relationships with others. It becomes a filter through which they view the world, making them more guarded, less trusting, and quicker to assign blame. This emotion, while seemingly empowering in the moment, ultimately traps them in a cycle of negativity as they remain fixated on the wounds of the past. Respect is a surprising and often paradoxical emotion that can emerge when you disappear from someone's life. It takes root as they begin to recognize the strength, courage, and self-awareness it must have taken for you to make that decision. They may not admit it outwardly, but deep down, there's an acknowledgement of the boundaries you set and the steps you took to prioritize your well-being. Respect grows as they reflect on the ways in which your departure was not an act of weakness, but one of immense personal conviction. They think about the moments leading up to your absence, the times when you may have felt unappreciated, unheard, or undervalued, and how, despite all of that, you chose to walk away with dignity. There's an unspoken admiration for the way you carried yourself, for not allowing the situation to break you, but instead using it as a catalyst for change. Respect often stems from the realization that you had the strength to do what they could not or would not do, to let go of something that no longer served you or aligned with your values. This feeling also arises as they come to terms with the depth of your self-respiration. It dawns on them that your disappearance was not just an escape, but a statement, a refusal to settle for less than you deserved. It forces them to reconsider their own actions and attitudes as they realize that your decision was a reflection of your principles and self-worth. Respect takes shape in their acknowledgement of how you refuse to compromise on your own happiness and growth, even if it meant making a difficult choice. Respect is not always immediate. It often grows over time as they observe the changes in themselves and in you. They begin to notice how your absence challenged them to confront their own shortcomings, to question their priorities, and to reflect on the dynamics that led to the parting of ways. Respect emerges as they see how your actions inspired growth, even if it came through discomfort. It's a recognition that your choice was not just for yourself, but inadvertently became a catalyst for their self-examination. They may also find themselves respecting the way you handled the departure itself. Perhaps you left without unnecessary drama, without bitterness or malice, simply stepping away with grace and purpose. This kind of exit leaves a lasting impression, one that speaks to your character and integrity. Respect grows from the way you chose to leave things, not with anger or spite, but with an understanding of your own worth and the courage to honor it. In the beginning, they might not understand it, or perhaps they view it as an escape. But as the days unfold, they start to see your absence in a new light. The realization that you left not because of weakness, but because you recognize the need for change, gives them permission to do the same in their own lives. They begin to ask themselves difficult questions. What am I tolerating that I shouldn't? What areas of my life need to be cleared out in order for me to thrive? Your disappearance becomes a spark that propels them toward reevaluating their own circumstances, motivations, and desires. And what might you be? McDowell references The Matrix, big mistakes. So if you're missing any part of The Matrix, Season 2 of The Simpsons features extra episodes made exclusively for this podcast. The Matrix, big mistakes, act. The way you walked away with conviction and strength challenges them to take a hard look at their own lives. They start to question the comfort zones they've built, the routines they've fallen into, and the people they've allowed to stay in their lives despite their negative impact. Motivation arises from the desire to make a change, to break free from the limitations they've imposed on themselves, just as you have done. They recognize that you didn't just disappear out of frustration. You made a choice, a bold decision to prioritize your happiness, growth, and peace. And now they want to make similar choices in their own life. As they reflect on your disappearance, they begin to see it as a challenge, to stop playing small, to stop accepting mediocrity or fear as a reason to stay stuck. They realize that, just like you, they have the power to make decisions that align with their truth, no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it may be. They begin to understand that true motivation comes from within, from a place of knowing that they are worthy of more. And they too can create their own version of a better life. Your absence becomes a reminder that it's never too late to change, to take control, and to create the life they desire. Motivation rises from the simple truth that if you could make the difficult choice to walk away and pursue your own path, then they too have that same power. They begin to feel a sense of urgency, a renewed commitment to their own dreams, and a stronger belief in their ability to act upon it. It's no longer about waiting for the right circumstances or the right time. Your disappearance tells them that the time is always now, that the only thing standing between them and the life they want is their willingness to take that first step. And now, I speak for all of us. We are ready. This motivation doesn't come from an external push or the need to prove anything to anyone. It is internal, deeply rooted in the realization that they have agency over their lives. They start to understand that they are not bound by circumstances, nor are they defined by the limitations they or others may have placed upon them. Your decision to disappear becomes a mirror in which they see the potential for their own growth, and they feel motivated to take the reins of their destiny with the same courage and decisiveness you exhibited. Is that clear? The fact that you are aware of that you took and set a clear and decisive target, and you're calling it for what it is, and everybody is witness. As they face their own struggles and challenges, motivation serves as a constant reminder of the possibility of transformation. They start to believe in their own power to change their reality, to break free from old patterns, and to pursue the life they've been putting off for too long. Your disappearance becomes a catalyst for their own personal awakening, and with that, motivation flows through them, pushing them forward with a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. In conclusion, when you disappear from someone's life, the impact is profound and multifaceted. At first, they may experience confusion, guilt, and a sense of loss as they attempt to understand the reasons behind your absence. But over time, as they reflect, these emotions begin to transform. They may be left with a sense of respect for the strength it took for you to make that choice, and a deep motivation to take control of their own lives. Resentment may initially cloud their judgment, but as they confront their own role in the dynamic, they might start to see the situation differently. They are left with regret over things left unsaid. and curiosity that drives them to reconsider their own actions and decisions. The absence of clarity pushes them toward reflection and forces them to confront their own truths, shaping them in ways they didn't anticipate. Ultimately, your disappearance becomes a turning point not only for you, but also for them. It challenges them to grow, to reflect on what's truly important, and to find their own path to fulfillment. In the end, your absence doesn't just leave a void, it ignites a transformation, both in the way they view you and the way they view themselves. The power of your decision lies in its ability to spark change, to break the chains of complacency, and to inspire a deeper, more meaningful journey for everyone involved.